Hi, my name's Ryan Lichtenfeld, and I am a faculty member at the Mortgage University, sponsored by Midwest Mortgage Capital. For this week's Friday Guideline Update, we are going to discuss FHA and property flipping. This has been in the news recently, and actually we included an update in our daily updates about FHA's new rule, or rather I should say extension of a rule that they came out with a year ago. We want to make sure you understand how FHA treats property flipping and what they will and will not allow for FHA financing. First of all, they define property flipping as a practice whereby a property recently acquired is resold for a considerable profit with an artificially inflated value. Now let's look at what they again will and will not allow for. When the resale occurs within 90 days of the acquisition date. Here's the old rule. Understand, this is the old rule. FHA regulations prohibited insuring a mortgage on a home owned by the seller for less than 90 days. That old rule is now waived. It is temporarily waived though, and we want to make sure you understand this. Last year, FHA again temporarily waived this regulation. What came out at the end of last month was that FHA extended this waiver. So this waiver will now be in place for all of 2011. So an individual can now get an FHA loan on a house that was purchased less than 90 days ago. However, there are restrictions to that. First of all, the transactions with sales price greater than or equal to a 20% increase over the seller's acquisition costs are ineligible. So an example, an individual buys a house for $100,000. If they want to sell that house for more than $119,999, then the individual buying it will not be able to get an FHA loan if that transaction occurred within 90 days of the seller buying the house. Hopefully you understand that and I didn't make that more confusing. Also, non-arm's length transactions are ineligible. So brothers cannot sell these houses to each other, or sell this house to each other. Sisters, cousins, anybody with a relationship cannot be involved in these transactions. Then there's exceptions to the restrictions. So if it's an FHA REO property being sold by the FHA, what I said in the last slide having to do with the 20% rule does not really exist. FHA can sell that house for whatever they want and whenever they want. Same goes for homes sold by bona fide relocation agencies. Inherited properties, meaning if an individual inherits a property, they can sell it a week later for whatever they want, and the individual buying it can get an FHA loan. Also, homes sold by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and properties sold by local and state governments. This is important, this last slide here, and it's how FHA defines the acquisition date by the seller and then the resale date. The acquisition date is when the seller closed, when they actually bought the property. That's what they consider the acquisition date. The resale date, that's the one that people have some confusion on. Understand that the resale date is when the buyer signs the sales contract or purchase offer. So everything we talked about in this update is when the acquisition date, meaning the closing date for when the seller bought the property, and the resale date or the date of the contract are 90 days or less apart. So hopefully you understand this a little bit more. We appreciate you being with us and hope that you'll join us again next week. Also, if you ever have any guidelines, any information that you'd like to see more about, please let us know. Send us an email. We'll be happy to include it in our Friday Guideline Update. Thank you.